Suspense. Tonight, Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Mr. Ray Milland in Chicken Feed, a suspense play produced and edited by William Spears.
Hey, Hap, what happened?
Get me a doctor. Rush so fast getting here, run my battery dry.
Why, you don't need a doctor. You need an Autolite Stay Full battery. Why, these brilliant, beautiful, bouncy babies want water only 3 times a year. Yes, only 3 times a year in normal car use. Their larger liquid load is like a lake compared to ordinary batteries. And Autolite Stay Full batteries have extra protection with fiberglass retaining mats for longer life. Why, in tests conducted according to life cycle standards of the Society of Automotive Engineers, Autolite Stay Full batteries gave 70% longer average life than batteries without the Stay Full features. So, folks, get an Autolite Stay Full battery. Remember, you're always right with Autolite. Oh, and friends, a reminder, Suspense may be seen on television in many parts of the country every Tuesday night.
And now with Chicken Feed, and with the performance of Ray Milland, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
All right, it was a silly thing to fight over, I admit it, but there it was. A nickel. A measly, worthless nickel. Chicken feed. But, of course, that was only the beginning. Junior had asked for a nickel, and I flipped it over to him. After he left the room, Mary said I shouldn't spoil the kid. It was time he learned the value of money. And I said, great Scott, if I couldn't give my own child a nickel without her jumping down my throat, I said, after all, what's a nickel good for? Cup of coffee? Or, you know how these things get going. You keep saying things you shouldn't, and she lashes out with an answer, and before you know it, you've stormed out of the house, and you're taking it out on the counter. 50 miles cooled me down a little, but not much. I automatically slowed up when I came to the sign, "You are now entering Lansing, California. Go slow and see our town, go fast and see our jail." Everybody knew Lansing. Speed trap, uptown. Driving at a normal speed through the quiet Sunday street gave me time to think of something besides the biting words Mary and I had slugged at each other. I pulled up at a little cafe next to the police station. Had a whitewash sign in the window, best cup of coffee in town for 5 cents.
And I resent that, Officer Brady. Do over easy, Sam, and heavy on the fried. What's yours, mister?
Coffee, please.
Coming up. Here you are. Say, Officer Brady, how's your starboarder?
Phillips? They're coming for him in the morning.
Think you'll be able to hold him until then? He got out of that Bennington jail like a paper bag.
But don't worry, sister. Mr. Phillips won't get out of this one.
Well, I listened to him for half an ear while I sipped my coffee. Best cup in town for 5 cents. That reminded me of our argument over a nickel. That's about all a nickel's good for. A cup of coffee some places, a newspaper, a phone call. There was a stack of the local papers nearby, and I pulled one over to look at. This Phillips is on the front page. Bank robber. Killed a teller. He had a face I wouldn't want to run into. Close. After a while, the hot coffee made me feel a little better, and maybe I'd been at fault as much as Mary. She wasn't the only one who had a bad temper. On a sudden impulse, I left my coffee, went over to the phone on the far wall. I heard the dial tone, and then I fished in my pocket for change. It was empty. Say, miss, could you change $1 for me? I want to use the phone.
Oh, yes, sir.
Well,
What's the matter, mister?
Well, my wallet, I seem to have... Look, I'll be back in a minute. No, Mary wasn't the only one with a temper. I'd stormed out of the house without changing the contents of my pockets to clean my suit. Didn't have a dime on me, not a nickel. I rummaged in the glove compartment. Mary sometimes left a coin first, but this time, naturally, it wasn't there. I felt like a fool.
What seems to be the trouble, mister?
Oh, hello, officer. Well, I seem to have come out without any money. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, embarrassing.
I didn't realize it. I tried to phone, but I...
Wait a minute, just a minute.
Huh?
Where's your driver's license?
Oh, it's in my wallet. San Francisco.
Got any other identification?
Well, the registration slip on the car.
Oh, yeah, that's the car. What about you?
Look, officer, I'm Ralph Clark. Clark and Jacobs in the Hatfield building. We're attorneys.
Attorneys?
Well, I should have a card somewhere.
Kind of far from home to be without any dough, ain't you?
Well, I came out of the house without changing the stuff into this suit. You know how it is.
How do you happen to have the keys to the car?
Well, I don't take them out, and it's in the garage.
Yeah.
Say, you don't think...
Where you
that,
headed for?
Well, I know it sounds funny, but nowhere, really. You see, I had a fight with my wife, and I just batted out of the house to cool off.
I'll tell you what, Mr. Clark, suppose we just mosey over to the station house.
The station house? Say, what is this?
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. It's right next door, and you can call your wife from there.
But I don't see why that's necessary. If you just lend me a nickel, I could call here and reverse the charges.
Well, we'll go. You can leave the car here. I'll take that key.
Look here, officer. I don't
Come on, move on. Move on.
All the stupid situations today.
Hi, Jim. What you got this time?
I'll tell you better after he makes his call. Give me the phone, will you, Ross?
That's out of order. Went dead half hour ago.
Yeah?
I reported it. They said they can't have a man here before tomorrow.
Well, did you tell him this is a police station, for Pete's sakes?
Oh, sure I told them. It ain't bad, though. We get incoming calls, and we still got the nickel snatcher over there.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a payphone, Mr. Clark. You can make your call from there.
I don't have any money, remember?
Oh, yeah, okay. There's a nickel.
Gee, thanks.
Let me speak to your wife when you get her.
This is going to sound fine, just fine. She'll think I really tied one on.
Operator.
I want to call San Francisco, Fillmore, 60098, and reverse the charges, please.
Thank you. Your number, please.
This is 460.
Hello? I have a collect call from Lansing, California for Fillmore 60098. Will you accept it? Lansing? Well, I don't know anyone in
It's me,
Lansing.
Mary. Take the call.
Oh, it's you, is it? What do you think you're doing, 50 miles? Will you accept the call, madam? I should say not. The very idea.
Hey, Mary, wait!
I'm sorry. The party will not accept the call.
Look, operator, get her back, will you? This is important.
I will ring them again.
Swell, that's a sweetheart. She's there, the little... Why doesn't she pick up that phone?
Your party does not answer.
No.
No soap, huh?
Well, that's your nickel.
Let me have another one, will you? I'll get hold of my partner. He'll identify me.
Look, we've wasted enough time. Come on in here.
But those are the cells.
Right.
You're locking me up?
Right again.
But what's the big idea? I didn't do anything. What are you charging me with?
I don't have to charge you with anything. I'm holding you on suspicion.
Suspicion? Suspicion of what?
Defrauding the cafe, for one thing. And I want to check that car.
You think I stole it?
Well, it's been done.
Now, wait a minute. If you'll just let me phone...
You're entitled to one call. You've had it.
But look here, officer.
Come on, inside.
In jail. All on account of a measly nickel. A lousy, stinking nickel.
Hey, welcome to our jail. Stink pot of the Santa Nueva Valley. Huh, Slim?
Yeah, you said it. What's your beef, chum?
Suspicion. Can you feature that? Suspicion. They won't even give me a nickel to phone.
You mean you ain't even got a nickel?
No, you see,
Gee, that's too bad, ain't it, Pete?
Oh, yeah, sure is. I wish we could help you out.
Yeah. Maybe we can at that.
You got a nickel?
Sure. I got 3 of them.
Well, lend me one. Will you? Just one. I'll pay you back. I'll send you $10 as soon as I get out of here.
What's it worth to you, chum?
What? I
Yeah.
just told you $10.
Yeah, I know. Pie in the sky.
Hey, my wristwatch. Why didn't I think of that before?
What's the matter with it?
Oh, nothing. Nothing's the matter with it. It's worth $50. Yeah, you fool. Look at it. It's yours for 5 cents for one measly nickel. What can you lose?
Must be something wrong with it. Is it hot?
Hot? You mean stolen? Of
Yeah.
course not.
What are you offering for a nickel for?
Because I want to get out of this filthy place.
Oh. So you don't like our company, is that it?
Well, if you want to put it that way, no, I don't.
Oh, the man don't like our company.
Now, ain't that just too bad? Hey, what do you think of that, Mr. Phillips? He don't like it. You got any nickels, Mr. Phillips?
I followed his glance. For the first time, I saw, deep in the gloom of the locked cubicle, the face I'd seen on the front page of the newspaper. The face I'd said I wouldn't want to run into. Close. Well, it was close, and I was glad there were bars between us.
Of course, us guys ain't much, but Mr. Phillips here, he's a big shot. Robbed 4 banks and broke into 2 jails. He killed a man, too.
Yeah, sure. We're just vags. But Mr. Phillips, he's going to the hot seat. Yeah, they're coming to get him, take him back to Utah and burn him.
They don't burn him in Utah, they shoot him.
Oh.
Ain't that right, Mr. Phillips?
Mr. Phillips don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, Mr. Phillips, he don't want to talk about nothing. Mr. Phillips, he ain't very sociable. Just like this.
Oh, now, look, fellas, I didn't mean... I just meant I want to get out of this jail. Here, take the watch and give me the nickel, huh?
Tell you what I'll do. I'll match you for it.
Match me?
Yeah, nickel against the watch.
Well...
Take it or leave it.
Well, all right.
Leave Pete hold the watch here, huh? I'll flip a nickel on the floor and you call it, huh?
Heads.
Tails, I win.
Hey, wait a minute. Get your foot over it. How do you know it's tails?
It's tails. Ain't it, Pete?
Sure, it's tails, all right. Here's the watch, Slim.
Say, what is
Watch
this?
it, brother.
You're not going to get away with this.
Get him, Pete. That'll learn you.
This is for me and me.
Oh, don't kick me.
Hey, what's going on in there?
Officer, these
It
men...
ain't nothing, officer. This new guy is acting up, that's all.
Well, quiet down in there.
Now, get up.
I can't. He kicked me.
Trying to get us in trouble, huh?
No, Look, fella, for heaven's sake...
Shut up. Okay. Kangaroo.
I'll be the judge and you'll be the prosecutor, huh?
Right. Maybe Mr. Phillips will be defense attorney. You want to, Mr. Phillips?
He don't want to.
Prisoner at the bar, stand up. I said stand up.
Cut it out, will you?
Shut up.
All right, Counselor. What is the prisoner charged with?
Your Honor, this man's a desperate criminal. He's charged with breaking into jail, insulting his fellow boarders, poor sportsmanship, and fighting. A very dangerous character, Your Honor.
Oh, yeah. Guilty on all counts. Prisoner, have you anything to say before I pronounce sentence? No? Well, I fine you 5 cents. Hand it over.
You know I haven't got it.
Can't pay, huh? Well, then you can work it out. A rate of 1 cent a day. Your first job will be to shine the court's shoes.
Shine your own shoes.
Oh, he's going to be like that, huh? Hold them, Slim.
Yeah.
Officer!
Hey, stand in there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now get on them shoes.
I don't have anything to shine them with.
You got a coat, ain't you? Now get going.
The next hours were unadulterated agony. It was unbelievable, the filthy, inhuman things they could think up for me to do. It was just frightful. With every move I made, I could feel the glittering, steely eyes of the silent man in the locked cage on me, following me, weighing me. And finally, when they couldn't think of anything more, they forced me to stand at attention, looking right into Phillips's cage. They couldn't see his face. It was too close to mine. But he winked at me, and he nodded his head as though it were a signal. And then his 2 huge arms came through the bars and thrust me reeling across the cell, and I fell and hit my head. And that's all I remember.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Ray Milland in Chicken Feed. Tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Hey, Hap, get a load of this picture.
What the... a herd of camels picketing the Autolite battery plant.
Yeah, look at the signs. Autolite Stay Full batteries, unfair to camels.
Now, how do you figure that?
Well, it's easy. Those thirstless Autolite Stay Full batteries have kicked Camel's water reserve reputation into a cocked hat.
You mean because an Autolite Stay Full needs water only 3 times a year?
Yea, and verily, and also correct. Autolite Stay Full batteries need water only 3 times a year in normal car use. This extra liquid reserve expels one of the major causes of battery failure, means exceedingly excellent performance and extremely long life.
You'd say it's expedient to own an Autolite Stay Full battery.
Exactly. And for a few more Autolite Stay Full extras, get this. Extra protection with fiberglass retaining mats. Extra long life as compared to batteries without Stay Full features. In fact, 70% longer average life as established by tests conducted according to life cycle standards of the Society of Automotive Engineers. Why, with an Autolite Stay Full battery, you can tell the difference in your car.
You're right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Ray Milland in Chicken Feed, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I don't know what time it was. 2 or 3 in the morning, I guess, when I felt a stealthy touch on my shoulder. I opened my eyes. I was still on the stone floor. And Phillips was bending over me, holding a revolver. My mouth opened for an involuntary cry, and he clapped a hand over it.
Shut up, you fool. You want to wake them punks? Get up quick and be quiet about it.
I glanced quickly at Phillips's cell. It was open. So was the door to the corridor. He pushed me on and locked the door behind us. In his office, bound and gagged securely to his desk chair, Sergeant Ross glared at us. The empty holster at his side told where Phillips had got his gun.
Here. Which is the key to your car?
This one.
Okay. Take it. Let's move. Where's the car?
Over there.
You drive. Yeah. Well, we made it. Them hick bulls, they panicked me. Guy could spring that crock with a hairpin. But you nearly done a fine job of lousing things up. What happened to you, getting thrown in the can in the middle of the day?
Well, they picked me up on suspicion.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be till midnight tonight. And all that phony kid stuff about the nickel.
The nickel?
Yeah, all that double talk when all you had to do was slip me the word that Jerry Nichols sent you. Served you right the way them lushes treated you. Acting like a dyed-in-the-wool squid.
Jerry Nichols. Nichols. My numbed brain slowly put the meaning of his words into shape. He thought I was an accomplice, sent by a partner to help him break jail. Then all my screams about a nickel had been nothing but a signal to him. A signal that I came from Jerry Nichols.
Jerry got the hideout set up?
Yes.
Oh, where is it?
The hideout?
The hideout. We're going to Jerry's place first, ain't we? Then what?
Well, I'll take you to Jerry's. Then I guess he'll take over from there.
How far is it to Jerry's? Can't be any more than about 5 miles, is it?
Well, it's... Look behind you.
What's the matter?
There's a car following us without lights.
Well, I don't see it. Hey, what's the big idea? You trying to cross me?
I couldn't help it. My foot slammed on the brake. That car, we've got to get out of here.
Go ahead. Get it started. Come on.
It's flooded.
I'm getting out till that car passes. You make for the other side, no tricks. Just to make sure, I'll take this key.
I'd made myself a chance, and I took it. I slipped out of the car on the other side and ran across the fields until I could run no more. After an interminable 2 miles, I found a road, and after a while of tramping along the road, a dark shape loomed up before me, a gas station. And through the glass, I could make out the outline of a telephone. I tried the door. It was locked, of course, but I found a tire iron and sprang the latch. I'd run to the phone, almost thrown myself on it. Before I saw it was a payphone. In a rage, I shook the black box. I could hear the nickels inside across a sheet of metal no thicker than a playing card, yet as inaccessible as the moon. But there must be some money in this room. My eyes focused on a battered desk. There was some change in it, and a couple of dollar bills. The kind of money a man will leave as a sup to possible burglars. Burglars? That meant me. Carefully, I abstracted a single nickel.
Number, please.
Get me San Francisco. Sutter, 15994. It's Morris Jacobs. Tell him that this is his partner, Ralph Clark, and ask him to accept the charges.
Thank you. There's an interruption on the line, and there may be a slight delay, sir. Will you hold on, or shall I call you?
I'll hold on, but hurry, operator. It's important.
One moment, please.
As I waited, a glint of light pulled my eyes away from the phone. Far down the road, headlights of a car joggled over the rise and aimed towards me. It was the first car to come by since I'd hit the road. It might be a stray, a farmer starting out before sunup, but I couldn't take the chance. Hastily, I hung up the receiver, closed the cash drawer, snapped the lock on the door, then I crouched beneath the desk.
Open up! Hey! I've tried to wake that geezer before. He sleeps like a dead man. He may be back on the bottle again.
We'll get him up.
Hey, Jerry! Jerry!
To my horror, I heard the creak of bed springs from the rear of the station. A light appeared under the door I thought was just a rear door to the outside. It opened, and two hairy, barefoot legs under a flannel nightgown came through and made for the front.
Who is it?
Brady and Ross, open up.
Well, you're a fine bunch of cops running out of gas in the middle of the night.
Come on in. It's chilly with the door open.
That ain't gas, pal. Phillips broke jail.
What? Oh, you don't tell me. Well, how did he do that?
You see, there was two of them. He had an accomplice. Said he was a lawyer.
They found their car abandoned on the road back of Ferris's hop field. Ran out of gas, so they can't be far away.
Say, there was a big reward for Phillips after he broke jail at Bennington, wasn't there?
Yeah, $1,000.
Hey! You know him, don't you? Yeah. You was in the Bennington folk when he done that break. What was it? A drunk and disorderly or something.
Yeah. I had me a little too much and broke a window in the general store. We was roommates for the night. I was pretty scared.
How'd he do it, the break?
Oh, I don't know. I was sleeping it off. $1,000 reward, huh? Man could do it a lot with $1,000.
Not that he couldn't. Don't you get any ideas now? That Phillips is a killer, and so's his partner, most likely.
Well, I ain't exactly helpless myself. Got a nice little fella on my side.
Now, you take my advice, chum, and put that gun away. They show up here, you talk soft, let us do the capture.
Oh, sure. I'll play safe.
Well, we'll be going. Just wanted to alert you, Jerry.
Yes, thanks. Thanks, and so long, boy. All right, you. Come out from under that desk. Come on out, I say. This gun's mighty nervous. Now, get your hands up and stand over there.
Look, mister.
I'll do the talking. Who are you?
Look, you've got to believe me. I'm not a criminal. I'm a lawyer.
Oh, you must be the other one, huh? Keep them hands up.
But I got into this by accident. I don't know. He helped me escape.
Where
yes,
is Phillips?
Well, I left him in the car, and that's another thing. You can get the reward. I know who he's going to meet, and they're going to a hideout.
Oh, I see. Who is he going to meet?
Well, somebody named Jerry Nichols. There you are. If you let me get to that phone, I can clear everything up.
No, you don't. Stay right where you are. I'll plug you.
But that's my partner, my law partner in San Francisco. I only broke in here so I could phone him. He'll identify me. You don't believe me?
Oh, I believe you, all right.
Then what? Answer it yourself. You'll see.
Not on your life, mister. You think I'm out of my mind?
But you've got to answer it, Jerry. You don't know what I went through to place that call. You just can't stand there and... Jerry. You're Jerry Nichols.
That's right. So you see...
Jerry!
What's that? Turn off that light, you.
It's Phillips.
Stand over there by the window, where he can see you. Go on.
Jerry!
Come on in, Phillips.
I ran out of gas, and that punk...
Jerry, what?
It happened so fast that for a moment I had no reaction at all. None. I just watched it. Watched Phillips holding his chest with both hands. Watched that giant body twist convulsively on the floor and then lie still. Watched Jerry bend over him, then straighten up. Then as he turned, grinning to me, emotion, feeling came back, and what I felt was seething, overpowering rage, fury, everything I'd been through this night. It was like a boiler that had to burst.
Well, dead or alive, I just made me $1,000.
You foul, stinking scum.
What?
You're worse than he is.
Shut up. Maybe I'll get a reward for you, too. A small one.
I could feel the bullet land in my side just below the belt, and the avenues of pain spread out like the cracks in a hammered window glass. But somehow, strangely, it didn't stop me. I kept moving toward him. He backed away, surprised. He was aiming for another shot when we grappled. I got the gun, and he got me by the throat. He stumbled. I held onto his hand that was holding the gun. I wouldn't let go, and then as he fell backwards over the chair, I was on top of him. He wouldn't let go of that gun. As we thrashed around there on the floor, I brought his hand up suddenly and smashed his own gun into his face. Then he lay still. I listened. I listened to his heart. He was all right. He was all right. I got up, gasping for breath. And then I realized that I was all right. Yet he'd shot me. He'd hit me. I should be lying there on the plank floor instead of that grotesque heap in the shapeless flannel nightgown. I felt my side where the bullet had struck. Brought my hand away. There was no blood on it. Yet there should be blood. I touched the spot again. I fingered the contour of something small and hard and round. I pulled it out of my watch pocket. Battered with a slug that struck it, bent almost double. A nickel. A nickel! The 20th part of $1, all a man needed to buy a cup of coffee. To make a phone call, to buy a fine in a kangaroo court to save his life. And I'd had it all the time. I'd had it all the time. Huh? Oh. Oh. Hello.
I have your party now in San Francisco. Shall I connect you, sir?
Huh? Yeah. But first, get the Lansing police station, will you, operator?
Lansing Police.
Yeah. Shut up, Jerry. You're going to live. And I'm going to be in court with you. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't give a plugged nickel for your chances.
Suspense, presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Ray Milland in Chicken Feed.
Say, Mr. Milland, in a recent movie I saw you as a baseball pitcher.
Yes, that's right.
You as a pitcher and Paul Douglas as a catcher made a wonderful battery.
That sounds like a lead-in for me to say that Autolite makes a wonderful battery, too.
You can say that again.
All right, I will. Autolite makes a wonderful battery.
Right you are, Ray. It's the Autolite Stay Full that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. Made by Autolite, makers of over 400 products for cars, trucks, airplanes, and boats in 28 Autolite plants from coast to coast. Autolite also makes complete electrical systems for many makes of America's finest cars. Batteries, spark plugs, generators, starting motors, coils, distributors. All engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly, because they're a perfect team. So, folks, don't accept electrical parts that are supposed to be as good. Ask for and insist on Autolite, original factory parts, at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. Remember, you're always right with Autolite. Next Thursday, for Suspense, Dorothy McGuire will be our star. The play is called Last Confession. And it is, as we say,
a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Tonight's Suspense play was produced and edited by William Spear and directed by Norman MacDonald. Music for Suspense is composed by Lucian Moraweck and conducted by Lud Gluskin. Chicken Feed was a radio play by Lawrence Goldman. Ray Milland appeared through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, whose current release is Top of the Morning, starring Bing Crosby, Ann Blythe, and Barry Fitzgerald. Don't forget, next Thursday, same time, Autolite will present Suspense, starring Dorothy McGuire.
Suspense. Tonight, Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Miss Dorothy McGuire in Last Confession, a suspense play produced and edited by William Spear.
Friends, millions of masterful motorists have been made merry by the miraculous magic of those magnificent marvels, wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs. They let your engine idle smoother, perform better on leaner gas mixtures, actually save you gas. They cut down on television interference, too, and have up to 200% longer electrode life. Backed by the research and engineering know-how of Autolite, Autolite resistor spark plugs today are used as original equipment in many of America's finest cars. So, friends, don't be satisfied with spark plugs supposed to be as good. Get genuine Autolite resistor spark plugs. Remember, you're always right with Autolite. And here's a reminder. Suspense on television may be seen in many parts of the country every Tuesday night.
And now, with Last Confession, and with the performance of Dorothy McGuire, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
Oh, isn't that horrible, Edna?
Let's see.
Gee,
Is that the way they found him?
Yeah, that's the way they found him. His knife. All twisted up like that. Lying there in the mud. Ooh, who do you suppose is guilty?
They didn't even find the knife. They'll never find out who did it.
Oh, sure they will.
No, they won't. Oh, Jessie, put that paper down. Every time something awful happens, you have to read all about it, down to the last detail.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. What can you see so fascinating in horrible things? They make such a bad impression on you. Remember when we went to see Johnny Belinda in the movie?
Yeah.
You could hardly talk for a week. That imagination of yours.
Oh, look. It says here they found a lady's glove. Black. Size 5. Hey, that's my size.
Well, see, it could be anybody. Size 5 is my size, too. Just think how many people could have done it.
They'll find out. Somebody's conscience will begin bothering them, and then you'll see.
A person that would do a thing like that wouldn't have a conscience. Besides, maybe he deserved it. How do you know?
Everybody has a conscience. They'll get whoever it was. Don't you worry. I wonder who did it. I wonder who it could have been. It's funny how murders affect me. Even reading about them in the papers or listening to the radio. When someone's killed, I always feel like I did it. Still, how can one person kill another person? How can he? Human flesh and blood. And then, not to confess it. How can he stand that guilt? Could I ever kill someone? You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think I'd be the sort of... Well, then, nobody is ever the sort of person to be a killer until he's killed someone. I don't know. Every time something like this murder comes up, I keep thinking maybe I did it. Maybe when I was asleep or something, I got up and did it. Edna? What day was he killed?
What day?
Yeah, what day?
Tuesday. I think it was. It says here someplace. Wait a second. They're in the woods 4 miles from the city limits. No, wait a minute. Yeah, here it is. Police believe Howard was killed sometime between 5 and 7 p.m. on Tuesday, July 12th.
Tuesday, July 12th.
How can they estimate that close?
Oh, they can, all right. Oh, is that his picture?
Yeah, here. Here, you take it.
Thomas L. Howard of Los Angeles, who was found dead in Woodland Grove here tonight.
Poor Tommy.
Tommy, did you know him?
I went out with him once. Hey, did you turn off the heat?
Huh?
Did you turn off the heat, Jessie? The house seems awfully warm.
Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't turn the heat off.
It's roasting in here. Imagine turning on the heat anyway during the summer months in Los Angeles.
Well, it was chilly in here this morning. Hey, Edna?
I can hear you. Keep talking.
Well, look at him.
At who?
At this picture of Howard, the man who was killed.
What about him? Let's see. Yeah, so what? What about him?
He's just like him.
Who?
Remember Henry Hacker's the boy I used to go with, the one on Morella Avenue, the dark-haired one with the funny kind of eyes?
You mean the one who...
Yeah?
Oh, sure. But Tommy didn't look anything like Henry.
You're crazy. Look at that hairline and the cleft in the chin.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Oh, now, don't tell me you don't see any resemblance. It's just like Henry Hacker.
Well, a little, maybe, but... Gee whiz, Jessie. You've got the darndest imagination.
Henry Hacker. He sure wasn't what you'd call good-looking. Had a cute smile, though. And a sort of funny little way he'd brush his hair out of his eyes. And then he'd walk with one shoulder just a little higher than the other. Henry Hacker. He was such a nice boy. Although, I never thought he'd want to get serious. A man can make you feel so guilty if you don't love him. Just because he loves you, he thinks... Oh, and that awful thing he said the last time. When was that?
But, Jessie,
I can't help it. It's just the way I feel about you.
But at least let me call you. You might change your mind.
I won't change my mind, Henry.
But you can't do it, Jessie. We had something, you and me. We made such a swell couple. I had wonderful plans for us,
Henry,
Jessie.
I can't help it, but the way I feel is just the way I feel. It's been getting too serious lately. You know what I mean? And when a slight flirtation grows out of hand, things can happen that'll only make people awfully unhappy when things don't work out.
Slight flirtation? Well, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But I thought it was a little more than a slight flirtation. The nights I laid awake thinking about it.
Oh, don't get sore.
Well, I want you to know this, Jessie. I just want you to know it and remember it as long as you live. You've done something to me that's beyond repair. And if something should happen to me, and believe me, it very well might, I just want you to know you're responsible.
Henry! What a horrible thing to say. It's like a curse.
Now, if you want, I'll drive you home.
Responsible. Telling me I'd be responsible. Ah, poor Henry. I should have talked to him again after that. He kept calling. But I felt so guilty. Wouldn't it be funny if instead of this Tommy fellow here, it was Henry that got killed? Between 5 and 7 o'clock on Tuesday, July 12th. Tuesday, July 12th. Let's see. Tuesday, July 12th. I came from work at 4, and I told Edna I was going out and I wouldn't be back. Now, where was I going? Gosh. My memory. Where was I going? What's the matter with me? Where was I between 5 and 7 on Tuesday, July 12th? Gosh, that wasn't so long ago. I should remember that. I remember later that night. I remember at 11 I was in bed because, Wednesday I had to be down to work an hour early to get out those new invoice forms. Hey! You know, if they hauled me down to the police station right now and began asking me, where were you on Tuesday, July 12th, between 5 and 7 p.m., I wouldn't have a thing to say. Edna?
Hey, have you read Little Abner yet?
Edna, listen, put down that paper.
Yeah?
Look, now, don't laugh, will you?
At what?
At what I'm going to say. What I'm going to ask you.
Go ahead, I won't laugh.
Do you remember where you were on Tuesday, July 12th, between 5 and 7 p.m.?
Why?
Do you remember?
Well, let's see. Sure, July 12th.
Uh-huh.
Sure, I went shopping over at Rawkins, and then I ate dinner, and then met Carl Maffaletti, and we went to a movie.
Gee, that's funny.
What?
Well, you remember so easy.
Oh, well, I know it was Tuesday because Tuesday was the day they had the sale at Rawkins. That's why I went shopping that day.
I can't remember at all.
What do you mean?
Do you remember what I did between 5 and 7?
I was gone all day, honey. I just explained
Well, it's
that.
funny, but I can't remember a thing during those 2 hours.
Well,
I must have done something. I just didn't die between 5 and 7 on Tuesday, July 12th.
Forget it, Jessie. I'm going out on the fire escape and take the sun. If the phone rings, get it, will you?
Sure. I haven't talked to him for such a long time. I'm going to call him. It's the least I can do after all the times he called me and I didn't even answer the phone.
Hello?
Mrs. Hackers?
Yes, who is this?
This is Jessie Larkin, Mrs. Hackers.
Yes?
Is Henry there?
Henry?
Yes, is he there?
If this is your idea of a joke, Jessie, it's in terribly bad taste.
A joke? I'm not joking. I'd like to talk to him. I know how you feel about the way I treated him, Mrs. Hackers, but really
I don't know what's the matter with you, Jessie. I don't know whether you're crazy or what. You know that Henry is dead.
Henry Hacker is dead. How could I forget a thing like that? It's simple forgetting your coat in a restaurant or your purse in a movie, but forgetting the boy you used to date, the boy you refused to marry just a few days ago, forgetting he's dead. Why, it just doesn't happen. Henry dead. How? I'm responsible, just like he said, like a curse. Just like I took a knife out of the kitchen drawer and deliberately plunged it into his heart. Yeah. But could I? Could I murder? Actually murder? With a knife? Kill? Black glove. Size 5 was found at the scene of the crime. Only one. Just one black glove in the drawer. Oh, Jessie. Oh. What'd I wear on Tuesday? Oh, there'd be hairs in the dress from the twigs. And mud, baby, from when I dragged them. No. Oh, everything's all right. My blue dress. The seam on the sleeve, and the hem and the mud on the skirt. I did it. There lies poor Henry. Henry face down in the mud in the woods. And I did it. I did it. I did it. I did it.
Dorothy McGuire in Last Confession. Tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Hi, Harlow. All set for fall driving?
Ready, set, and raring to go, Hap. Put in those peppy, powerful, pistol-packing, wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs. How's that?
Smooth.
That's the word, smooth, for smoother idling. Your motor purrs like a cuddly kitty with Autolite resistor spark plugs.
Hey, take it easy.
That's the word, easy, for easier, breezier starts in cold temperatures with ALRSP.
Hey, you've improved.
That's the word, improved. Improved engine performance on leaner gas mixtures. You save gas with Autolite resistor spark plugs. Know how?
No. How?
Right. Autolite engineering know-how and research made the thrifty Autolite resistor spark plug possible. 20 millions have been sold.
How much longer can this last?
200%, Hap. Autolite resistor spark plugs have up to 200% longer electrode life.
Oh, my gosh.
Ohm is right. The exclusive Autolite 10,000 ohm resistor engineered into every Autolite resistor spark plug makes possible easier starting in cold temperatures.
Get on the ball for fall.
Get Autolite resistor spark plugs. Remember, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Dorothy McGuire in Last Confession, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
This is where the paper said I left him. Oh, I don't really remember the place, not really. It's like being someplace you think you've been before and you're not sure. I've got to find out. I've got to know. Gosh. I wonder why I picked a place like this. All these bushes. Might be snakes and all sorts of dangerous things.
Stand where you are.
What?
Okay, you don't move. Just stay right where you are. Lieutenant Fleming.
Oh. Hello, Lieutenant.
What are you doing here?
Oh, just curious, really. You know, I read about it in the papers.
What's your name?
I'm just curious, that's all.
What's your name?
Jessie. Jessie Larkin.
Okay, Jessie. Run along. You ought to know better than to hang around a place like this, especially so late at night.
Well, it was the glove size, the black glove. I know a girl that wears that size.
Is that so?
Yeah. Have you found the murder weapon yet?
Not yet.
It's pretty essential to find, isn't it? I mean, to prove somebody's guilt.
Yeah. Sometimes they save us all the trouble, though. Come in and confess.
Oh. Say, it's terrible, isn't it? A nice young man like that.
Yeah?
Well, there you are. You still don't know who did it.
Well, we've got it pretty well narrowed down to one of his girlfriends.
Oh.
Hey, you run along now. I wouldn't worry too much about the Tommy Howard killing if I were you, Jessie.
Howard killing? Oh. No, I won't. Howard. He called him Howard. Why? Why would that lieutenant call him Howard? I've got to buy a paper and find out if they know that it really was Henry Hackers. But then Mrs. Hackers told me and... Oh, I'm so mixed up. I'm forgetting so many things. Henry's last name was Hackers. No. Henry Howard. Henry Howard. Yes, that was it. I remember when Edna showed me the paper, that's what it said. Henry Howard. His girlfriend, the officer said. Henry didn't go out with very many girls. Let's see, there was Fran Gilbert. I know he took her out a couple of times. And, Barbara, what was her name? Oh, I gotta see them. I gotta see whether they've got alibis. If none of them did it, then it must have been me. And I gotta be clever about it. Not let them know what I'm after. I'll say, real casual. By the way, Fran, what were you doing between 5 and 7 p.m. on Tuesday, July 12th?
Well, it's been a nice chat, honey. I still don't know who you are or what you're doing here, but it's been real nice.
Well, I told you. I heard you were an actress, and I've always wanted to be one.
Come on, leave us own up. You hear about Henry, what's his name?
Henry. Yes.
Something about his estate? Well, he left me nothing but the memory of 2 miserable evenings over some warm beer.
No, nothing like that. I was just sort of wondering what you were doing between 5 and 7 on Tuesday, July 12th.
Between what and what on when?
5 and 7 on Tuesday, July 12th.
Wait a minute. Are you a cop gal or something? That was the time the paper said that Howard was killed.
Howard?
Look, Blue Eyes talking in circles makes me dizzy. You're either crazy or a cop or a digger with an angle. Whichever it is, I'm surprisingly uninterested. Scoop.
Well, all right. If you're sure you know what you were doing.
Just to ease your mind, milady, I was swabbing decks on the USS New Mexico with a vacuum cleaner, and the Navy will back me up. Satisfied?
Well, thank you. Goodbye. It was nice meeting you.
Oh, no.
She's got an alibi. She didn't do it. She couldn't have. She didn't even remember Henry's last name.
I don't quite understand, Miss Larkin.
I'm from the Los Angeles Police Department, Miss Keeley.
What do you want?
I'm a policewoman, you understand?
Yes.
I'm interested in a Henry...
Hacker? Yes.
Yes. You knew he was found 4 miles from the city limits in the woods?
Henry? Henry Hackers is dead, but... Are you talking about the Howard case? I don't know a thing about that.
Where were you, and what were you doing between the hours of 5 and 7 on Tuesday, July 12th?
See here, I don't see any reason for answering any of your questions. Do you have a warrant?
Well, I thought it best to make this an informal visit. I thought perhaps I wouldn't need to go into any legalities. We can make this very simple without a lot of complications. Now, what were you doing between 5 and 7 on July 12th?
I think you'd better talk to my lawyer, Miss Larkin. I'm answering no questions without his permission. Good day.
Very well. Goodbye. I'll be seeing you again.
Goodbye.
Just remember, we have your name on file. All of them have alibis. I knew they would, really. And that leaves only me. I must have done it. Henry was right. I am responsible for his death. I deserve what I'll get. I'll deserve it when they sentence me, and the judge, and no one to stand by me. No one in the world but Edna. Edna. I'll tell her everything. She'll understand how it is.
Jessie? Say, where have you been? Where did you go? I've been so worried.
All right, I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything. I've got to trust you, Edna. You're the only one in the world I can trust.
Well?
Well, you know the murder in the papers.
Yeah, what about it?
It was me.
What?
Yes, it was me.
You're out of your head.
No, I wish I was, Edna. Honest, I wish
You
I
ought
was.
to see a doctor, kid. Honest, I mean
No,
it.
We were out there together in a car. I remember it so clearly, and he started getting fresh. I mean fresh. And I slapped him. Well, I had this knife with me. I don't remember where I got it, but I had it in my purse, and I stabbed him. And I stabbed him, and I stabbed him. And then I realized what I'd done, and I was terribly sorry, Edna. Oh, I was awfully sorry. But I had to get rid of him. So I dragged the body to the woods, inside, away from the highway, and I left him there. And I took the knife, but I forgot one of my gloves.
Jessie. Jessie, we've been roommates for 3 years, honey. I would have sworn you couldn't have dreamed of anything like this. Do you honestly believe...
I always had a violent temper. You know that, Edna.
Not to kill.
Well, I did. And now the only thing is I can't find the knife. Where would I have put it, Edna?
No, Jessie. Jessie, you stay here. Will you promise to stay here until I come back?
I can't, Edna. I've got to confess. I couldn't live with a thing like that on my conscience.
Promise
me.
I couldn't. Please, Jessie, promise. You're not to leave the house.
Well, all right. If you say so. See what kind of a person I am? I couldn't even keep a simple promise to my best friend. I had to go. Maybe after I confess this terrible headache will go away. Oh, there it is. The police station. Well, I certainly will deserve what I get. I hope they give me the maximum penalty prescribed by law.
Yes? Oh, hello.
Are you in charge here?
Almost. What can I do for you?
I'd like to confess to the Howard murder. Who do I see? Certainly, Lieutenant. Sit down.
Thank you. Jesse,
Well, your case is solved, isn't it?
Yes,
You don't seem to feel too good about it.
I don't. I don't, Jesse.
Did you find the knife?
Yes.
Oh.
Jesse, we have a couple of visitors for you. I think after you've seen them, you'll feel much better. That's what our doctor thinks.
Visitors? Who?
Mrs. Hackers, will you come in, please?
Mrs. Hackers.
Jesse.
Oh, don't hate me too much, Mrs. Hackers.
You're going to be released, Jesse. The police can take no action on your case, and not at the present time. Mrs. Hackers here read about your confessions in the papers. She called us and told us you couldn't have killed Howard.
Jesse, my poor child.
Why did you call him Mrs. Hackers?
Jesse.
When you knew I deserved it? When you knew I killed him? Your only son? Tell him the truth, Mrs. Hackers.
You didn't kill Henry,
Between
Jesse.
5 and 7 on July 12th.
Jesse, don't you remember where you were?
I was... No. I can't think. I can't remember.
Now think, Jesse. Try to remember. Between 5 and 7 on July 12th. Now, if you remember, everything will be straightened out in your mind.
I can't.
The flowers, dear. You were crying. You cried when I put down the flowers.
The flowers.
You cried, Jesse. Don't you remember?
The flowers. The funeral. Henry's funeral. Oh, I remember. I cried when you put the flowers down.
That's right, dear. The doctor says maybe you felt guilty inside or something because he was dead. But you're going to be all right.
Yes, Jesse. Apparently you just blotted those 2 hours out of your mind. Doc says sometimes it happens that way with some of us. Your mind just blots out a thing that's too painful to remember.
Yes, but then my dress and the gloves. Oh, no, I must have somehow. I must have.
Just a minute, Jesse, please.
Oh.
All right. Come in, please.
Oh,
Hello,
Edna.
Jessie.
Edna, I'm so glad you came.
Jessie, you promised me you wouldn't leave the house.
Edna, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have. Mrs. Hackett said I was with her at Henry's funeral between 5 and 7 on July 12th. The only thing I can't figure out is my missing glove and my blue dress.
Jessie, I didn't want to tell you because I was afraid to, but that day on July 12th, I borrowed your blue dress and your gloves.
You borrowed them?
I had a date. I knew you'd be wearing your black dress to the funeral, so I... Oh, Jessie, I kept quiet when it was as though nobody else was going to be blamed for it, but...
Edna! I don't believe it.
It's true, Jessie. If it hadn't been for you, I'd never have told anybody. I didn't know that all these days you've been convincing yourself that you...
Edna!
When I went out, when I told you not to leave the house, I went and got the knife. I buried it in the vacant lot. And I brought it to the police.
Poor Edna. Oh, that killed.
But I want you to know, Jessie, that Tom Howard was no good. And if anybody ever deserved... Can I please go now?
Yes. How do you feel now, Jessie?
What?
How do you feel?
Poor Edna.
She was your roommate, wasn't she, Jessie?
Not just a roommate, Mrs. Hackers. She was my best friend.
Come on, dear. I'll take you home.
Mrs. Hackers?
Yes, dear?
How did Henry die?
Of pneumonia. He died very peacefully.
Oh. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry for all the trouble I caused. I'm very sorry.
Suspense, presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Dorothy McGuire, in Last Confession.
Notice the day's getting shorter, Harlow?
Did you say shorter? Don't use that word around here. We're only interested in things that last longer, like Autolite resistor spark plugs. Those famous fast-firing, wide-gap spark plugs that have up to 200% longer electrode life. And Autolite resistor spark plugs let your engine run better on leaner gas mixtures, actually save you gas. Autolite makes complete electrical systems for many makes of America's finest cars. Batteries, spark plugs, generators, starting motors, coils, distributors. All engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly, because they're a perfect team. Get Autolite original factory parts at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. Remember, you're always right with Autolite. Next Thursday for Suspense, John Lund will be our star. The play is called Experiment 6R. And it is, as we say,
a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Tonight's suspense play was produced and edited by William Spear and directed by Norman MacDonald. Music for Suspense is composed by Lucian Moraweck and conducted by Lud Gluskin. Last Confession was a radio play by David Ellis. Dorothy McGuire will soon be seen in the 20th Century Fox picture, Oh Doctor. In the coming weeks, you will hear such stars as Charles Lawton, June Havoc, Van Johnson, and Betty Davis. Oh, and don't forget, next Thursday, same time, Autolite will present Suspense, starring John Lund.
Buy Autolite resistor spark plugs, Autolite stay-full batteries, Autolite electrical parts at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
Your National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis has only enough money to last 2 more weeks. Help now. Send dimes and dollars to polio, care of your local post office. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Suspense. Tonight, Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Mr. John Lund in Experiment 6R, a suspense play produced and edited by William Spear.
Friends, I know you've enjoyed trouble-free summer driving if you've replaced those old-style narrow-gap spark plugs with wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs.
Tell them why, Harlow. Tell them why.
Because Autolite resistor spark plugs with the exclusive built-in 10,000-ohm Autolite resistor give you a full, even spark all along the line of fire.
Keep going, Harlow. You're doing great.
Well, your engine idles smoother with Autolite resistor spark plugs. Performs better on leaner gas mixtures. Actually saves you gas.
You're getting better all the time.
Autolite resistor spark plugs cut down radio and television interference, too. So insist on Autolite resistor spark plugs.
Okay, Harlow. Give him the old punchline.
Don't be satisfied with spark plugs supposed to be just as good. Get genuine Autolite resistor spark plugs. You're always right with Autolite. And here's a reminder. Suspense may be seen on television in many parts of the country every Tuesday night.
And now, with Experiment 6R and with the performance of John Lund as Morris Brandt, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
Entirely fitting somehow that here in the Carlton Plaza Hotel, where he spent so much of his life, we should honor this hero of science and pay him our humble gratitude. Mr. Brandt is, as you know, at this moment in our special clinic, and it's from there that he will address us on the subject of Experiment 6R, a page in the progress of science with which his name will forever be associated. When I received his letter and heard the thrilling news that, unknown to any of us, a human volunteer had actually... well, it was, of course, inevitable that I should call this distinguished gathering together. I won't speak any longer now because minutes are precious. We're ready. Will you speak to us now, Mr. Brandt? Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Morris Brandt.
Brandt speaking. I don't know exactly how you good people of science are going to take my little story, the history of my own part in Experiment 6R. When I finish my story, if I finish it, you will wonder perhaps why I wish to tell it at all. Well, something about the irony of this situation appeals to me. I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. You know, even the fact that somebody just now pressed a buzzer and I jumped to attention and started speaking is ironic. Because I guess that's how Experiment 6R began, a couple of months ago. Yes, just like that. Brandt speaking. Very well, sir. It was precisely 3:15, and 3:15 was the time for Mr. Paul Koblenz's afternoon coffee. Naturally, it was beneath the dignity of the manager of the Carlton Plaza Hotel to have the coffee served by anyone less than me, the assistant manager. And so each day, the coffee tray with its silver urn, silver sugar and creamer, silver spoons, and graceful Limoges cups was left on my desk by a waiter, ready for the humiliating ceremony. I picked it up and went in.
Ah, Mr. Brandt. You'll join me, of course.
Well, thank you, Mr. Koblenz.
A little coffee is very relaxing.
It was relaxing for him. My duties only began with bringing in the coffee. I had to set the silver tray on his desk and then wait while Mr. Koblenz detached a small key from his vest chain. Then it was my job to take the key and open the small wall cabinet near the heavily draped window where Koblenz kept a supply of liquor. I would take out a bottle of expensive brandy and carry it over to the desk. Koblenz liked the dash of it in his coffee.
Ah, thank you, Mr. Brandt.
It was this part of the silly ritual that I hated most. That locked cabinet was a symbol of Koblenz's suspicion and distrust. No one but me was ever permitted to enter his sacred office, and I didn't drink. But that made no difference. The liquor was expensive and might be stolen. By whom? By me.
Mr. Brandt, I've been looking over the monthly accounts. Your latest innovation seems to be doing quite well.
The stag room? Oh, that was a lucky guess.
I think not. Your reasoning, I believe, was that businessmen like a place to lunch by themselves in quiet and comfort. It seems, Mr. Brandt, that you have the rare talent of knowing what people want.
Well, I hope so.
Especially when giving people what they want can be so profitable. And lead to give you what you want. Yes, indeed, Mr. Brandt. You have a very successful record during your 12 years here. Perhaps too successful.
Why, what do you mean?
Success has the habit of making a man crave something further. I think we shall have to have a talk some day soon, Mr. Brandt. But that will be all for today. You may replace the brandy.
He handed me the little key to the cabinet. He had finished with me for the day. Back in my office, I thought of what Mr. Koblenz had said. Too successful meant only one thing. He thought that I was ambitious to hold his job, my only possible advancement. Mr. Koblenz was quite correct. I would do anything to have that job. Anything. Now, after 12 years of it, I was determined to have that job. Not because it was a better job, but because it was his. I didn't sleep well that night in my cramped inside room, thinking of Mr. Koblenz in his penthouse suite. But finally it was morning, and the hotel came to life again, with all its problems. There were the usual 2 or 3 bad checks accepted by the night clerk, and all the other boring, commonplace irritants. The only drama of the day was brought in by the housekeeper.
May I speak to you a moment, Mr. Brandt?
Yes, Mrs. Oberman?
It's about 1402, Mr. Brandt.
What seems to be the trouble?
The maids won't make up 1402.
Why?
The room... I know it sounds crazy, but that room is full of rats.
Live rats? Oh, nonsense. The maids are imagining things.
It's true. I saw them myself.
Very well, Mrs. Oberman. I'll see about it.
Everyone's afraid to go in 1402, so I hope you can get them out of there. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Brandt.
Live rats. What next? Room clerk, please. Hello? Brandt speaking. Who's the occupant of 1402? Dr. Tomlinson? Is he in his room? Well, when he returns to the hotel, please let me know. I shall have to speak with him. Rats. Well, it was fairly typical of the kind of problem which is automatically relayed to the assistant manager, being hardly glamorous nor important enough for the manager to be bothered with. Some difficult and taxing assignment, like greeting Greer Garson, maybe, would be more fitting use for the time and talents of Paul Koblenz. As I thought about it, and him, I began to hear a sound in my head like a clock ticking. I recognized that it was almost 3:15. As busy as I was, I could sense, without looking at a clock, that it was nearly 3:15. It was time for the buzzer on my desk to sound out the call which symbolized all the tyranny, all the pompous authority, and the warped, sadistic soul of... Brandt speaking.
Coffee, Mr. Brandt.
Very well, sir. Again, the humiliating ritual. Performing the services of a waiter to satisfy Paul Koblenz of his authority. And today he began the talk with me that he had been promising for so long.
Mr. Brandt, you have been with us for 12 years, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Koblenz. 12 years and 2 months.
And you have always impressed me as an ambitious man. A competent man.
Well, thank you, sir.
But you must realize that you have come as far up the ladder as is possible, at least while I am alive.
Well, I don't think that...
And I am a very healthy man for my age, Mr. Brandt. Eventually you may replace me.
But, Mr.
But
Koblenz...
it will be a long time to wait, I'm afraid. A very long time indeed.
Well, I'm really awfully busy, Mr. Koblenz.
I have observed certain signs of restlessness in you during the last year or so.
Restlessness?
You are not satisfied to be merely the assistant manager. You dream of occupying this desk someday. My desk.
Will that be all, Mr. Koblenz?
I will tell you when you may go. You would like to have my salary, which is very considerable, instead of your own, which is a good deal smaller. I must say that no one is so well qualified. If anything should happen to me, you would automatically be appointed manager of the hotel.
Mr. Koblenz, I'm sure
I
never...
will not discuss the matter further. I just wanted you to know that I know, as they say, what the score is.
Have you finished your coffee, Mr. Koblenz?
I have finished my coffee, Mr. Brandt. Good afternoon.
It was exactly 3:30 as Koblenz handed me the little key to the cabinet, and I replaced the brandy. I took the coffee things back into my own office and closed the door. I knew exactly what Koblenz had meant. He had actually said, I know you would like to eliminate me in some way, and I warn you, I'm on the alert. Don't try anything funny if you know what's good for you. As if there were the slightest chance. As much as I hated him, there was nothing I could do. Mr. Brandt speaking.
You asked me to call when Dr. Tomlinson returned to the hotel, Mr. Brandt.
What? Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yes? Oh, yes, sir.
I am Mr. Brandt, Doctor, the assistant manager of the hotel.
Oh.
May I step in for a moment?
Well, yes, come right in. What can I do for you?
Well, I suppose you noticed your room hasn't been straightened. And, of course, it's not difficult to see the reason why. You have them caged, I see.
Oh, yes. You mean my rats. They're beautiful specimens, aren't they?
Beautiful. How did you get them into the hotel?
Oh, the cage fits into a leather carrying case. Rather clever, isn't it?
I see. Well, I'm sorry, Dr. Tomlinson, but I'm afraid those rats will have to go.
Yes, dear me, I was afraid of that. It would only be for another day, Mr. Brandt. I'll be returning to New York tomorrow. I can't leave them now. They're the subject of an experiment that may lead to the cure of an extremely deadly disease, which, for scientific purposes, we refer to as 6R.
Well, I'm sure, Doctor...
Let me show you something here. You see this yellow powder? Here, take a look at this label.
Paradimethyl... Doctor, I really don't have...
Paradimethylaminoasbenzamine. It's commonly called butter yellow, Mr. Brandt. You see, when a rat gets a bit of this daily in his food, he develops 6R within 4 months, a spreading internal growth which insidiously destroys vital tissues. And by the time the results are evident, the rat is past all hope, and in a very short time it's dead.
Yes, Doctor, it's very fascinating, I'm sure. But I'm afraid... Oh, will this powder induce 6R in a human being, too?
Oh, almost certainly, but naturally we haven't been able to try it. No volunteers.
I don't suppose it requires very large doses, either.
To develop 6R? Oh, no, indeed. Just a very tiny bit daily, and then... Mr. Brandt, surely you understand the importance of this work and why I must have the rats with me constantly? But if you insist, I shall move to another hotel, of course.
No, Doctor. I represent the management, and I ask you to stay. And I'll see that your room is straightened.
Well, I must say that's wonderful of you, Mr. Brandt. Are you interested in science?
Not until now.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, by the way, please tell the maid not to go near the cages. Sometimes the rats might bite, and it might be that they could transmit 6R that way. We're not sure, you understand, but it's better not to take any chances.
Yes, I understand. Is that powder, I won't attempt to pronounce it, is it quite safe in here?
Oh, yes, see? No one could find it here.
I see.
And besides, no one would know what it was. If some got lost, it looks just like yellow dust. It would only be thrown away. I have more for the experiments. Don't worry, Mr.
Brandt.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry if we've inconvenienced you, Doctor. Oh, have you had dinner?
Why, no, as a matter of fact.
Oh, would you join me? 7 o'clock in the grill room?
Well, I should be very pleased.
Good. We'll talk some more. You know, I should think that someone who, well, is desperately ill, let us say, would be honored to be your volunteer. I know in similar circumstances, I should be proud. Until 7, Doctor.
You wish to see me, Mr. Brandt?
Yes, Mrs. Overman. It is very important that Dr. Tomlinson finish his stay.
Yes, sir.
I will meet the chambermaid in his rooms promptly at 7:15 and see to it that the rats don't frighten them.
Thank you, Mr. Brandt.
The doctor arrived exactly at 7. And at 7:10, while he was still sipping his sherry, I excused myself and went up to 1402. When the chambermaid was taking the soiled linens to the laundry wagon in the hall, leaving me alone in Dr. Tomlinson's room, I filled a hotel envelope with a deadly yellow powder. I was back downstairs before the soup was served. I have never enjoyed a dinner more. Dr. Tomlinson prattled on, but I didn't even hear. I was thinking what a pleasure it was going to be to have coffee at 3:15 tomorrow afternoon with Mr. Paul Copeland.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. John Lund in Experiment 6R. Tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Say, Hap.
Yes?
My nephew went to camp this summer, and they taught him a lot of useful things, like how to send smoke signals with a brush fire and blanket.
Oh?
You should see the lovely charred hole in our living room rug.
Yes, but did they teach him about the new wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs?
No, Hap, they didn't, so I had a man-to-man talk with him. I told him replace old-style narrow-gap spark plugs with wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs for easier starting in cold temperatures, for smoother idling, for better performance on leaner gas mixtures. They actually save you gas.
That's useful information.
Right. I told him confidentially, of course, that every Autolite resistor spark plug has an exclusive built-in 10,000 ohm Autolite resistor. I said insist on Autolite resistor spark plugs now. Don't accept spark plugs that are supposed to be as good.
That's telling them.
I said, my boy, that mighty might, that Autolite resistor, explains why Autolite resistor spark plugs mean easier starting in cold temperatures, smoother idling, better performance on leaner gas mixtures. They actually save you gas. So insist on Autolite.
And now Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage John Lund in Experiment 6R. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Brandt speaking.
Coffee, Mr. Brandt.
Yes, Mr. Koblenz. A waiter had just brought the tray, set it on my desk, and left. My door was locked. I took out the envelope with the powder, put a pinch of it into one of the costly Limoges cups, filled both cups with coffee from the silver pot, and carried the tray into the sumptuous office next door. The office that would soon become my own.
You will join me, of course, Mr. Brandt.
Of course, Mr. Koblenz. Of course I would. I always had. But beginning with today, I would enjoy it. There was not the slightest alteration in the usual ridiculous routine. Koblenz removed the little key from his chain and handed it to me. I got the brandy from the cabinet. Koblenz poured a bit of the brandy into his cup and took a sip.
Exceptionally good coffee today, Brant. Make it yourself?
What? Why, how do you mean?
Oh, don't take me so seriously, Brant. But knowing your efficiency in all matters of the hotel, I'm sure you could prepare a very unusual cup of coffee.
Well, that's very nice of you to say, Mr. Koblenz.
But I know you haven't time to waste in making coffee. Too busy thinking of ways you can work your way into my job, aren't you? And as I told you before, you won't get it while I live, and I come from a very long-lived family.
Yes, surely. More coffee, sir? Nothing could possibly go wrong. I had found out enough from Dr. Tomlinson to know that humans, and I stretched a point to include Paul Koblenz, that humans responded to drugs in very much the same way as rats. That was the reason rats were used for experiments in medical research. Almost invariably, the drugs that could kill a rat could kill a man. But the powder would never be detected, only its effect. When, after months of tiny doses, Koblenz would suddenly learn that he was harboring the hidden killer, 6R. I kept the powder in my jacket pocket. As the weeks passed, it became a matter of routine to put some in Paul Koblenz's daily coffee. But try as I would to remain calm, sometimes the excitement of it would become almost unbearable, particularly at the moments when I served the coffee.
Mr. Brant, I can't tell you what pleasure this afternoon cup of coffee gives me. And, of course, it gives me one of the few chances I get during the day to see my busy and trusted assistant. That is a pleasure, too.
Thank you, Mr. Koblenz.
Oh, I received a letter a few days back from a Dr. Ernst Tomlinson.
Tomlinson?
He was a guest here, I believe, for several days.
Oh, really? Well, I don't...
Surely you haven't forgotten. He wished specifically to be remembered to you. The gentleman with the rats.
Rats? Oh, yes, I do recall something.
Yes, of course. I realize, Mr. Brandt, that I have allowed many of my managerial duties to fall on your capable shoulders, which action has perhaps given you a mistaken opinion of your authority on these premises. But really, Mr. Brandt, live rats in a room.
The animals were caged?
I think I should have been consulted. Fortunately, our other guests were not cognizant of the fact that we were for 2 days zookeepers of a sort. If they had known, I'm afraid Mr. Fenwick should have immediately replaced you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Koblenz.
Yes, I am sure. The good doctor seemed quite taken by you, Mr. Brandt. Have you a personality side you've never shown me? I've always considered you rather dull.
Will that be all, Mr. Koblenz?
You're angry. Well, no matter. See, yes, that will be all. I'm rather tired today. Go, please.
Dr. Tomlinson had written, but only to compliment me. That was good. He hadn't missed any of the yellow powder. As far as Koblenz's insulting behavior was concerned, well, there wouldn't be much more of it. Dr. Tomlinson had said there were no outward effects to 6R. But the tiny admission of fatigue on Paul Koblenz's part was, I felt, a good sign. I watched Paul Koblenz grow progressively more testy and insulting. 2 weeks into the 4th month of Experiment 6R, and in a way I didn't expect, the last scene began. Under the insurance laws of our state, all employees participating in group insurance had a yearly physical examination. The 4 months Dr. Tomlinson had considered necessary to allow the growth of 6R were almost completed. By now, 6R would have taken hold of Paul Koblenz, sufficiently to be recognized in a medical examination, and sufficiently to be, at that point, incurably fatal. Even at this late date, there were outwardly no signs of Koblenz's illness, which would make the announcement by the insurance doctor even more shocking. It was a nervous moment. Brand speaking.
Mr. Brent, I have set aside 2:30 as the time for my visit to the insurance doctors. That should get me back to my office for coffee. After which, if you have no pressing duties, you may...
Yes, Mr. Koblenz. At 3 o'clock, I heard him come back into his office next door. He walked rather heavily, I thought. I wanted desperately to see him at once, to see the reaction he must have to the news the insurance doctors had given him. But I waited. Finally, it was 3:15. Brandt speaking.
Coffee, Mr. Brandt.
Yes, Mr. Koblenz. The waiter had brought the coffee tray as usual. I carried it in. Koblenz sat quietly at his desk, his face partially in the shadow from the drawn blinds.
You'll join me, of course, Mr. Brandt.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Koblenz.
Here's the key.
I set the tray down, took the little key to the liquor cabinet which stood against the wall, and bent over to open it. There was a new mirror above the cabinet, and when I saw it, it made me drop the bottle.
Anything wrong, Mr. Brandt? You seem startled.
The cups. The cups.
You've turned absolutely white as death. But then I meant to talk to you. You haven't been looking well for some time.
You changed.
I beg your pardon?
You switched the coffee cups while I turned away to get your brandy.
I always do. It is an old custom in my family. An old German custom. A very old custom. A very old and long-lived family.
Have you all this time?
Yes, Mr. Brandt. All this time. Operator, connect me with the insurance doctors, please. In 308. Is it possible for you to see Mr. Brandt immediately, Doctor? Thank you. It's urgent.
And so, Experiment 6R is finished. I am glad to have been of service to science, but I just couldn't die without sharing the credit with Mr. Koblenz. I am sorry, truly sorry, that he could not be there with you today in his old capacity as manager of the hotel. But Mr. Fenwick saw fit to discharge Mr. Koblenz when it was brought to his attention that live rats had been permitted to spend the night in one of our rooms. And now, thank you for your attention and goodbye.
I was just bringing your order, Mr. Brandt. Your friend just phoned and told me. If you'd only mentioned it before...
Friend?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Koblenz.
Koblenz? But I didn't order anything.
Oh, now, Mr. Brandt, it's no trouble. We know now about your little custom. If you want coffee at 3:15 every day, you shall have it. Come now. It's just 3:15.
Suspense, presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, John Lund, in Experiment 6R.
John, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Why, of course not, Harlow.
Okay. What do you think of Autolite resistor spark plugs?
Well, Harlow, let's put it this way.
Yes?
I can't imagine you selling anything but the best.
Oh, well, now,
don't be coy, Wilcox. You just keep right on telling people that Autolite resistor spark plugs are the best. Any more questions?
No, John, and thank you. I'll also tell people that in its 28 plants from coast to coast, Autolite makes more than 400 products for cars, trucks, airplanes, and boats, including complete electrical systems for many makes of America's finest cars. Batteries, spark plugs, generators, starting motors, coils, distributors. All engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly because they're a perfect team. So, friends, don't accept electrical parts supposed to be just as good. Insist on and get Autolite original factory parts at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. Remember, you're always right with Autolite. Next Thursday for Suspense, Charles Lawton and June Havoc will be our stars. The play is called Blind Date. And it is, as we say,
a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Tonight's Suspense play was produced and edited by William Spear and directed by Norman MacDonald. Music for Suspense is composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Lud Gluskin. Experiment 6R was a radio play by Donald Stubbs and Harold Comm. John Lund may currently be seen in the Hal Wallace production for Paramount, My Friend Irma. In the coming weeks, you will hear such stars as Van Johnson, Edward Arnold, and Betty Davis. Don't forget, next Thursday, same time, Autolite will present Suspense, starring Charles Lawton and June Havoc.
You can buy Autolite resistor spark plugs, Autolite stay-full batteries, Autolite electrical parts at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Do over easy, Sam, and heavy on the fried. What's yours, mister?
Coffee, please.
Coming up. Here you are. Say, Officer Brady, how's your star boarder?
Phillips? They're coming for him in the morning.
Think you'll be able to hold him until then? He got out of that Bennington jail like a paper bag.
But don't worry, sister. Mr. Phillips won't get out of this one.
Well, I listened to him for half an ear while I sipped my coffee. Best cup in town for 5 cents. That reminded me of our argument over a nickel. That's about all a nickel's good for. A cup of coffee some places, a newspaper, a phone call. There was a stack of the local papers nearby, and I pulled one over to look at. This Phillips is on the front page. Bank robber. Killed a teller. He had a face I wouldn't want to run into. Close. After a while, the hot coffee made me feel a little better, and maybe I'd been at fault as much as Mary. She wasn't the only one who had a bad temper. On a sudden impulse, I left my coffee, went over to the phone on the far wall. I heard the dial tone, and then I fished in my pocket for change. It was empty. Say, miss, could you change $1 for me? I want to use the phone.
Oh, yes, sir.
Well,
What's the matter, mister?
Well, my wallet, I seem to have... Look, I'll be back in a minute. No, Mary wasn't the only one with a temper. I'd stormed out of the house without changing the contents of my pockets to clean my suit. Didn't have a dime on me, not a nickel. I rummaged in the glove compartment. Mary sometimes left a coin first, but this time, naturally, it wasn't there. I felt like a fool.
What seems to be the trouble, mister?
Oh, hello, officer. Well, I seem to have come out without any money. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, embarrassing.
I didn't realize it. I tried to phone, but I...
Oh, wait a minute, just a minute.
Huh?
Where's your driver's license?
Oh, it's in my wallet. San Francisco.
Got any other identification?
Well, the registration slip on the car.
Oh, yeah, that's the car. What about you?
Look, officer, I'm Ralph Clark. Clark and Jacobs in the Hatfield building. We're attorneys.
Attorneys?
Well, I should have a card somewhere.
Kind of far from home to be without any dough, ain't you?
Well, I came out of the house without changing the stuff into this suit. You know how it
Yeah.
is.
How do you happen to have the keys to the car?
Well, I don't take them out, and it's in the garage.
Yeah.
Say, you don't think...
Where are you headed for?
Well, I know it sounds funny, but nowhere, really. You see, I had a fight with my wife, and I just batted out of the house to cool off.
I tell you what, Mr. Clark, suppose we just mosey over to the station house.
The station house? Say, what is this?
Oh, nothing at all. That's right, Nick.
Phone.
You mean you ain't even got a nickel?
No, you see, I...
Gee, that's too bad, ain't it, Pete?
Oh, yeah, sure is. I wished we could help you out.
Yeah. Maybe we can at that.
You got a nickel?
Sure. I got 3 of them.
Well, lend me one. Will you? Just one. I'll pay you back. I'll send you $10 as soon as I get out of here.
What's it worth to you, chump?
What?
Yeah.
I just told you, $10.
Yeah, I know. Pie in the sky.
Hey, my wristwatch. Why didn't I think of that before?
What's the matter with it?
Oh, nothing. Nothing's the matter with it. It's worth $50. Yeah, you fool. Look at it. It's yours for 5 cents for one measly nickel. What can you lose?
Must be something wrong with it. Is it hot?
Hot? You mean stolen? Of
Yeah.
course not.
What are you offering for a nickel for?
Because I want to get out of this filthy place.
Oh. So you don't like our company, is that it?
Well, if you want to put it that way, no, I don't.
The man don't like our company.
Now, ain't that just too bad? Hey, what do you think of that, Mr. Phillips? He don't like it. You got any nickels, Mr. Phillips?
I followed his glance. For the first time, I saw, deep in the gloom of the locked cubicle, the face I'd seen on the front page of the newspaper. The face I'd said I wouldn't want to run into, close. Well, it was close, and I was glad there were bars between us.
Of course, us guys ain't much, but Mr. Phillips here, he's a big shot. Robbed 4 banks and broke into 2 jails. He killed a man, too.
Yeah, sure. We're just vags. But Mr. Phillips, he's going to the hot seat. Yeah, they're coming to get him, take him back to Utah and burn him.
They don't burn him in Utah, they shoot him.
Oh.
Ain't that right, Mr. Phillips? Hey, Mr. Phillips don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, Mr. Phillips, he don't want to talk about nothing. Mr. Phillips, he ain't very sociable. Just like this.
Oh, now, look, fellas, I didn't mean... I just meant I want to get out of this jail. Here, take the watch and give me the nickel, huh?
Tell you what I'll do. I'll match you for it.
Match me?
Yeah, nickel against the watch.
Well...
Take it or leave it.
Well, all right.
Leave Pete hold the watch here, huh? I'll flip a nickel on the floor and you call it, huh?
Heads.
Tails, I win.
Hey, wait a minute. Get your foot over it. How do you know it's tails?
It's tails. Ain't it, Pete?
Sure, it's tails, all right. Here's the watch, Slim.
Say, what is
Watch
this?
it, brother.
You're not going to get away with this.
Get him, Pete.
Yeah.
That'll learn you.
This is for me and me.
Oh, don't kick me.
Hey, what's going on in there?
Officer, these men...
It ain't nothing, officer. This new guy is acting up, that's all.
Well, quiet down in there.
Now, get up.
I can't. He kicked me.
Trying to get us in trouble, huh?
No, I... Look, fella, for heaven's sake...
Shut up. Okay. Kangaroo.
I'll be the judge and you be the prosecutor, huh?
Right. Maybe Mr. Phillips will be defense attorney. You want to, Mr. Phillips?
He don't want to.
Prisoner at the bar, stand up. I said stand up.
Cut it out, will you?
Shut up.
All right, Counselor. What is the prisoner charged with?
Your Honor, this man's a desperate criminal. He's charged with breaking into jail, insulting his fellow boarders, poor sportsmanship, and fighting. A very dangerous character, Your Honor.
Oh, yeah. Guilty on all counts. Prisoner, have you anything to say before I pronounce sentence? No? Well, I fine you 5 cents. Hand it over.
You know I haven't got it.
Can't pay, huh? Well, then you can work it out. A rate of 1 cent a day. Your first job will be to shine the court's shoes.
Shine your own shoes.
Oh, he's going to be like that, huh? Hold them, Slim.
Yeah.
Officer!
Pipe down in there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now get on them shoes.
I don't have anything to shine them with.
You got a coat, ain't you? Now get going.
The next hours were unadulterated agony. It was unbelievable, the filthy, inhuman things they could think up for me to do. It was just frightful. With every move I made, I could feel the glittering, steely eyes of the silent man in the locked cage on me, following me, weighing me. And finally, when they couldn't think of anything more, they forced me to stand at attention, looking right into Phillips's cage. They couldn't see his face. It was too close to mine. But he winked at me, and he nodded his head as though it were a signal. And then his 2 huge arms came through the bars and thrust me reeling across the cell, and I fell and hit my head. And that's all I remember.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Ray Milland in Chicken Feed. Tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Suspense. Tonight, Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Mr. Ray Milland in Chicken Feed, a suspense play produced and edited by William Spears.
Hey, Hap, what happened?
Get me a doctor. Rush so fast getting here, run my battery dry.
Why, you don't need a doctor. You need an Autolite Stay Full battery. Why, these brilliant, beautiful, bouncy babies want water only 3 times a year. Yes, only 3 times a year in normal car use. Their larger liquid load is like a lake compared to ordinary batteries. And Autolite Stay Full batteries have extra protection with fiberglass retaining mats for longer life. Why, in tests conducted according to life cycle standards of the Society of Automotive Engineers, Autolite Stay Full batteries gave 70% longer average life than batteries without the Stay Full features. So, folks, get an Autolite Stay Full battery. Remember, you're always right with Autolite. Oh, and friends, a reminder, Suspense may be seen on television in many parts of the country every Tuesday night.
And now with Chicken Feed, and with the performance of Ray Milland, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
All right, it was a silly thing to fight over, I admit it, but there it was. A nickel. A measly, worthless nickel. Chicken feed. But of course, that was only the beginning. Junior had asked for a nickel, and I flipped it over to him. After he left the room, Mary said I shouldn't spoil the kid. It was time he learned the value of money. And I said, great Scott, if I couldn't give my own child a nickel without her jumping down my throat, I said, after all, what's a nickel good for? Cup of coffee? Or, you know how these things get going. You keep saying things you shouldn't, and she lashes out with an answer, and before you know it, you've stormed out of the house, and you're taking it out on the counter. 50 miles cooled me down a little, but not much. I automatically slowed up when I came to the sign, "You are now entering Lansing, California. Go slow and see our town, go fast and see our jail." Everybody knew Lansing. Speed trap, tough town. Driving at a normal speed through the quiet Sunday street gave me time to think of something besides the fighting words Mary and I had slugged at each other. I pulled up at a little cafe next to the police station. Had a whitewash sign in the window, best cup of coffee in town for 5 cents.
And I resent that, Officer Brady.
Next door, and you can call your wife from there. But I don't see why that's necessary. If you just lend me a nickel, I could call here and reverse the charges.
Well, we'll go. You can leave the car here. I'll take this key.
And look here, officer, I don't
Come on, move on, move on.
All the stupid situations today.
Hi, Jim. What you got this time?
I'll tell you better after he makes his call. Give me the phone, will you, Ross?
That's out of order. Went dead half-hour ago.
Yeah?
I reported it. They said they can't have a man here before tomorrow.
Well, did you tell him this is a police station, for Pete's sakes?
Oh, sure I told him. It ain't bad, though. We get incoming calls, and we still got the nickel snatcher over there.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a payphone, Mr. Clark. You can make your call from there.
I don't have any money, remember?
Oh, yeah, okay. Here's a nickel.
Gee, thanks.
Let me speak to your wife when you get her.
This is going to sound fine, just fine. She'll think I really tied one on.
Operator.
I want to call San Francisco, Fillmore, 60098, and reverse the charges, please.
Thank you. Your number, please.
This is 460.
Hello? I have a collect call from Lansing, California for Fillmore 60098. Will you accept it? Lansing? Well, I don't know anyone in
It's me,
Lansing.
Mary. Take the call.
Oh, it's you, is it? What do you think you're doing, 50 miles? Will you accept the call, madam? I should say not. The very idea.
Hey, Mary, wait!
I'm sorry. The party will not accept the call.
Look, operator, get her back, will you? This is important.
I will ring them again.
Swell, that's a sweetheart. She's there, the little... Why doesn't she pick up that phone?
Your party does not answer.
No.
No soap, huh?
Well, that's your nickel.
Let me have another one, will you? I'll get hold of my partner. He'll identify me.
Look, we've wasted enough time. Come on in here.
But those are the cells.
Right.
You're locking me up?
Right again.
But what's the big idea? I didn't do anything. What are you charging me with?
You don't have to charge you with anything. I'm holding you on suspicion.
Suspicion? Suspicion of what?
Defrauding the cafe, for one thing. And I want to check that car.
You think I stole it?
Well, it's been done.
Now, wait a minute. If you'll just let me phone...
You're entitled to one call. You've had it.
But look here, officer.
Come on, inside.
In jail. All on account of a measly nickel. A lousy, stinking nickel.
Hey, welcome to our jail. Stink pot of the Santa Nueva Valley. Huh, Slim?
Yeah, you said it. What's your beef, chum?
Suspicion. Can you feature that? Suspicion. They won't even give me a nickel to